Hello, welcome to Beyond the Edge. I'm your host, Brandy Deutsch.
Hi, I'm Dede DeMayo, your co-host, Light, Love, and Blessings.
And we are super excited today. We have a really interesting type show. It's not something maybe we would normally do, but I really thought this would be really cool to talk about painting as therapy or art therapy. And every time we talk about different ways of combating things like depression or anxiety, really what we're talking about is just ways to help ourselves kind of get out of our funk or just get into some different energy, some new energy. And so our guest today is Daniel Elliot. He's a professional painter and he's been doing this for over 35 years. And Daniel, welcome to the show.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
And so Daniel, how did you get into painting?
When I was a child, every year I was that kid that sat in the corner, and the only thing that shut me up was some crayons and some paper. And so eventually, one of my relatives foolishly got me a big art kit with nothing but artist supplies. And one day I discovered that they had these tubes of just liquid color, and that was the end. That was every time things were too much, I just broke out that old box of stuff and smeared it all over things.
I
Wow.
love it. I love it. And you know what I know about color is there's so many different frequencies and vibrations. I mean, it's different, literally different vibrational frequencies whenever you have different color palettes. And so one of the things I know about feeling depressed or sad is when we bring other vibrations and other frequencies, it can kind of uplift us. So I'm curious about what's been your experience around how painting has helped you with emotions and just, I mean, we all go through some struggles, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, painting for me is basically illustrating my struggles. All the things, I'm a man, so I am a typical, man. I don't understand my feelings. I try my best to be in touch with them and all of that, but I illustrate them. So when I can't identify how I'm feeling or exactly what's going on, that's what I do.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I'm an improvisational painter, and I literally leave it all on the canvas. And so, good day, bad day, whatever, it comes out in my art.
Wow. I love the fact that you pointed out, how you have to illustrate because you're not good, at understanding or
Yeah,
maybe even
I don't
communicating
have
in another
words.
way.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't have.
and I have to say, in all my years, I have done some art therapy, not to the scale probably that you do, but none of them were men that even came to the classes and stuff. And I think it's encouraging, and I'm so thankful that you're on our show because it will encourage men to find another way to express themselves and not keep things bottled up or,
Yeah,
let it
I mean, the
explode at
alternative
the
is
end.
breaking things.
Yeah.
For
Well,
most men is yelling, breaking stuff. I mean, uh, I've raised two boys, and I watched it with both of them.
mhm.
The zero to angry, and when things get too much, and it's hard to identify your emotions and what exactly you're feeling. And so, yeah, both my
What
kids turned into musicians.
Well, and
I'm a
it
visual artist, but
more
you know,
artists.
yeah.
I
but
I
love
that's how
it.
mean,
you get it
but
out, and
but
that's how.
art therapy, yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah,
too, art therapy isn't always about expressing the negative. You
no,
can
it could be the
if
high.
someone isn't able to say I love you, they can draw a picture. They
Right.
can paint something. They can,
They can
write a
connect.
poem on it. Yeah, it's a way
It's
to
a it's a
connect.
it's a way of visually representing things that you don't have words for, and
Yes.
Mhm.
that's I'm I can talk, I can chat, I can cover all sorts of things, but you ask me how I'm feeling, and I don't have words. I can
Yeah.
I, you know, and the more complex the feelings, the less words I have. So that's
Do
just not
you
a talent
find
skill.
do you find that that's reflected in the work? Like, let's say you said the more
Completely.
complicated the feeling. Yeah, like the more complicated or not complicated the painting, but more intricate, or what do you think comes out?
That's tough because sometimes it comes out in the form of an absolute simplicity in the painting.
Mm,
So
interesting.
when it's very very complicated, sometimes because again, it's therapeutic and working with colors and, there's science behind the materials that we work with. The color wheel that we learn in school, our materials don't really work that way.
Mm.
You don't take any red and any blue and, get purple. Sometimes you take a red and one red and one blue and you'll get a green.
Yeah.
And so, and that's just because of the sciencey, physical properties of what made those paints look those colors. And so putting that in mind, plus all of the angst and or anything that's going on in your life, anything that you're having trouble dealing with, sometimes it comes out in the form of a very simple, just color space, color field painting. Sometimes it's splattered paint. Sometimes it's heavy knife work and heavy textures. Sometimes really persnickety detail work where you're going almost photoreal with something. And it varies. And I would love to say, yeah, it's more detailed when I've got more complicated things, but a lot of times it's me handling my world and making everything simple. So,
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
But other times it's just the feelings and they kind of drive everything. Is trying to identify all of those feelings that as a man I tend to bottle up.
Yeah, I love that. So it sounds like, when we say using art or painting as therapy, it really sounds like it's helpful for you to use painting as a way of not just getting it all out, but expressing, right? And so when people see your art, do they go, "Oh yeah, I know what this is," or is it more like kind of up to their own interpretation?
I try to leave everything to the beholder's share, which is the theory that the final viewer adds their feelings and their interpretation, and that really completes the work. And so I'm a firm believer in that.
Well, I just want to do an example. The picture that's up behind you, the one with the black and the light, the contrast. So I look at pictures and I see stories, and it's usually, it's probably my story, but even though the darkness is there and you can look straight on that or focus, there's something to the side. If you just look around, there's a different path. So I don't even know what you went through when you painted that, but it does speak, the colors, the way it's contrasted, the way it's behind it. Don't keep looking right, focus in front of you. Sometimes you have to go around,
Yeah. Well, that's
and yeah.
Yeah, no, I that one's actually titled "Birth of Life," and it has a kind of a volcanic, like a undersea volcano kind of a feel to it. But it's again, it's honestly, as dark as it is in person, it's actually a lot more hopeful.
That's what I see. Yeah,
and there's a lot of rebirth in it, and that's and creation, and so again, it was painted at a time where I was changing, and I was accepting and recognizing changes that were going on.
That's so powerful, Birth of Life, because having some, as speaking as someone who's birthed life,
right.
There is a point of darkness, not only for what's, being the conduit, but also for what's coming forth. And so that is like perfect. Absolutely.
I love
perfect.
that.
Yeah. So I'd love to show some more of your work because I took some pictures. You're Houston based and we're Houston based. And so I just thought it would be really great to show some other paintings that you did. Yeah, there's one right there. And this one's part of a bigger series. I also want to, show everyone and kind of talk about a little bit. That's the installation. Let's keep going and then come back to that one. These are just amazing, Daniel. Like what comes out of you, it's like absolutely incredible. And I want to believe that anybody can do this. And I think they could in their own way, but I also think as a professional painter, you've done this for many years. So you really, I would like to think that you really refined your art, the artwork and your art.
Art is more, there's more to it than just the simplicity of expression. Uh, that is what gives an awful lot of it its meaning, but you can express yourself all over the place and it looks really bad. And,
those are the ones you want to have fire ceremony for.
And it's not that the expression itself was bad, but the aesthetics were bad. Art, from composition to color structure to, everything that you put in, there's rules or guidelines within everything. And so finding a way to make it palatable for, other human consumption where people will look at it and feel something. I mean, it takes just pure expression to a different place.
Thank you for saying that, because sometimes I'll look at a painting and go, my 4-year-old could have done that.
Well, like my example on the back, I'm like, that is the simplicity form. And if I tried to draw that hand, I'd have a foot. I mean, I'm just not an artist, so
it takes nothing but craft. Take a portrait. It takes craft to represent another person and make it resemble that person. That is the craft. The art is where you put the life and the soul and the emotion into that painting. So it's a balancing of the craft, which is the learnable technique, the repetitive skills that you have to go through and exercises that you go through to be good at representing things. And then the art is where you let go of some of that and you get the feeling in. And, that's why there's such a variety of art. And within every discipline, there are terrible artists because they're awful craftspeople. But there's also brilliance within. And, the hardest part of being an artist is knowing when you're done. I mean, that's like one of the oldest expressions. And some people don't know. They overpaint and they keep going. They detail it to the point where they've just told 100% of the story and then some. Then there are others that underpaint.
I love it. It's like boundaries.
Yeah,
it's like having boundaries.
I mean, go pick up a guitar, turn the amp up, and just start banging away at it, and you'll hear nothing but
noise. That's right.
And
it hurts your ears.
Get some noise that's melodic by accident.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to play and you don't know how to manipulate the instrument, you're just going to irritate neighbors.
That's right.
And so that's kind of the same with art is, and everyone has a different thing that, people like what they like. And, another old truism in art is if I do a series of paintings and I take them to a show, the one that I hate the most and thought was the least successful is the first one sold. Every single time. The one that I plan to leave in the car and not show is the one that it becomes everybody's favorite.
That's crazy.
Because everyone has different tastes and everyone responds to different things completely differently.
And that's a great lesson because you never know, right? Yeah. I mean, we have one construct in our minds, and what is true for you might not be true for somebody else. So it's important
I can tell you, my favorite paintings last the longest.
Because you want to hold on to them.
No, that's the thing is I don't want to hold on to them. I want to share them. I want people to have them and appreciate them.
Yeah.
But my absolute favorites of all time, if I had to take a top 10 of all my favorite paintings I've ever produced, those are also the 10 paintings that stayed around my studio the longest and didn't find new homes. And that's just how it works.
Yeah. So I want to go back to this installation because I'm going to ask you to talk about this a little bit. This one for me was the most profound painting of, the series that not series, but the installation that I've seen you do. Can you elaborate on this one? Like, what is this about, and what made you
Okay.
do this?
That was my reaction to the pandemic. Um, 2020 was a very strange year for all of us, and honestly, it started as the loneliness and the seclusion of lockdown, and then I tried to incorporate kind of everything that we all went through together, and I don't often do like pop art colors. That's something that is a little bit outside of my norm. And part of it was, I mean, the entire world sat around and watched Tiger King and other, everyone I know that never watches television is now up to date on all pop culture events and personalities. And so the colors were representative of everyone's need and embrace for, pop culture entertainment during a really bizarre time for humanity.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I decided rather than do it in one enormous painting, um, doing it in 9 separate boxes. I mean, that's Zoom meetings. Who didn't spend all of their time on a Zoom
Yes.
meeting, uh,
Looking at a square
looking at
screen.
little square
Yes.
screens, or and it represents people trying to stay connected as best they can.
Hmm.
Uh, People ask me, why are the clouds crying? They're not crying. We spent our whole life last year streaming everything. Our entire life was streaming. Most people would have eaten food if they could have streamed it. Instead they just ordered everything delivered.
That's
Uh,
right.
but at the same time, if they could have gotten it over the internet and streamed directly into their fridge, they would have. And so
Right.
all of those elements put together, I tried really hard not to be negative. I tried really hard to be upbeat and positive. Uh, as an artist and someone who does, you know, fairs, events, festivals, art shows, gallery openings, having my entire life canceled for the year. Everyone else was locked down for 2 weeks. I was locked down for the year,
Yeah.
or near it, and
Yeah.
that was all my personal connection that I was getting, and with
Right.
everyone being in their place, and rightly so, being worried about getting sick. Friends weren't really gathering in groups anymore, and so it was a
Right.
lot either one-on-one time with somebody, but it was really interspersed with nothing but singular alone time. A lot of it,
Yes.
more downtime than I've ever had in my life.
Yes. It's
So,
so interesting
yeah,
because
was trying to unite. You know, um,
think
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry. I really wanted to, because your interpretation of that was much more profound than just seeing it, because I could see it and have my own. But then hearing your description of how and why that came about, I'm like, yeah, it is kind of happy but sad. It's
Yeah,
so interesting. And that's kind of like the way I felt too during the pandemic, because it's almost as if we are trying to make sense of everything while we're still trying to connect. And I love the colors because I know I'm safe. Like,
right.
that's the thing, right? Like, I know I'm safe. We were having a conversation about safety before, right? Like, I know I'm safe. I'm okay, because that's what I feel inside of me. But at the same time, there's things going on and people don't feel safe. So I'm an empathizer. I mean, I can feel other people sometimes, and it's like I feel all these things, and this is really happening. Like, this is going on. And for you to just kind of boom, like, put it out there like that, it was like, wow, like, yeah, totally, I can feel that.
It was a hard. I mean, it was a hard piece to do, and it was a hard one to really. I got the first 3 done and was like, I might just call it quits. And then I kept thinking about it, and I said no. I saw it as 9, And the whole time I was producing it, it was just nicknamed the Brady's because I didn't have a working title for it
The
yet.
Brady Bunch.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, I wanted these clouds all, these individual clouds that were, in their spaces, in their little boxes. They're all 30-inch square paintings. So I liked the idea that they were all kind of unique, different, had their own personalities, and they're almost looking at each other. They're all almost connected, almost together. And again, the only way I could describe it to people, what was in my head was, I was like, think like the Brady Bunch, like, all the different boxes. I'm like, yeah, so that they were nicknamed the Brady's. But it's actually called load balanced because that's all everyone tried to do since this whole thing started was, balance our individual loads and our individual needs, but also trying to stay connected as a group. So
Wow.
to balance that load.
What do you think, Dede? What do you
Well,
get from that?
I actually, when I saw the crying, that was the first thing he mentioned. But as he explained what created it, I could see how the individual cloud was still trying to be part of everything, even though it was, singular and behind a screen, so to speak, or not allowed to commingle. And I found it interesting that there was no dark cloud in it at all. The light still came through, so that removed the sad crying part to, just still sharing of yourself with humanity. So, and not allowing yourself to fall into that, where you become a recluse, because I think a lot of people had to battle that. I know I am like, geez, I still don't want to go out because I got so conditioned to being in with, I was like, so, the clouds, in a way spoke to me of, don't stay in that, start to reach out, start to branch out, start to go back doing things regardless of what other people are doing, still, go out. So
Yeah,
it's
very
very
cool.
interesting.
So Daniel, if people want to
Someone got
reach you,
What?
yeah,
You got
he
it.
said
That makes me so happy. I win because that was my goal, and you read it.
I love it.
That it did. When I first unveiled it, a lot of people just looked and did the shrug. Oh, that's nice. And
Yeah, no, it definitely
just
has a lot to say.
well, and I really don't ever like explaining my work.
Right.
I'll talk
Well, thank
about
you for doing it today. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's really hard. That's it's the meaning behind what I've produced is actually really hard to put out in the light of day outside of on a wall. And so
and as you said before, really personal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really personal thing. It's almost like my spirituality. I would compare it to that maybe in the way that I connect with Creator. I mean, it sounds like your
that's
connection
exactly
with spiritual.
that's me in my creator's image is I'm creating. That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's the most deeply personal thing there is. And yes, I do like I like attention and I like to do live painting and I events, but at the same time, that's I may as well be one of those snake bite preachers dancing around because that's that's I got the spirit. That's when I'm painting. That's it. That's it.
Wonderful.
Right
Wow.
So Daniel, if people want to reach out to you and get in touch with you, they have questions about your paintings, and can they reach you through Instagram? Do you have a website?
Instagram. That's Daniel Elliot Art. Little @ symbol, or artistdanielelliot.com is my website. I think you got rolling across the screen there my email, and my studio's at Spring Street Studios, downtown Houston. So
anybody can go check out your paintings at the studio.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Yeah. I'm in the studio most days. I'd say hit me up on Instagram or shoot me an email just to make sure I'm actually going to be in studio that day. But I'm always open to the public.
Awesome.
Here I'm open. So
awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today, Daniel. We so appreciate
Thank you.
and what you do for our community. No, it's fine. So as every show, we want to put out there, if anybody that needs prayers or any kind of light sent to them, if they're going through difficulties or struggles, I'm going to add Daniel to our list, because after the pandemic, there was some really hard changes that he had to face. And so, Daniel, I'm going to add you to that list. Our light intercession list, please text their name or message us at Beyond the Edge TV. You can also text at 805-500-3343. And we're going to send some light your way, my friend.
Good. I need it.
We all need it.
Well,
Thanks so much for joining us again. We really appreciate all of you, and for you and you, Daniel. You guys have a wonderful day.
bye, everyone.